Welcome to the Four Bells, where we are doing workout from home number 83. This brings us into week number 3 of our push-up cycle that we are doing at home. So before we get into push-ups, as always, we've got to make sure we are nice and warm, making sure the shoulders are feeling happy before we get into it. But of course, we don't want to tire the shoulders out too much. So we're going to take a look at 3 things today to get us ready for push-ups. We're going to start with some T-spine rotations. If you're like me, if you're in a stay-at-home order, means you're not going out as much, you're probably sitting a lot more than you were. So we're going to work the thoracic spine, get the upper back moving a little bit. From there, we're going to do some shoulder taps. We're going to do them 10 slow and then 10 fast to work on shoulder stability and a little bit of anti-rotation through the core as well. And then from there, Hindu push-ups. My favorite push-up variation, hopefully your favorite variation. We are going to do them for 5 reps. They should be nice and easy, getting that shoulder joint ready. Let's do those 3 things 3 times. Let's talk about how they should look. Starting off with T-spine rotations, I need to be in a quadruped, easy for me to say, position, hands below the shoulders, knees below the hips. And all I'm thinking about is threading the needle. So I'm going to look at my fingers. I'm going to thread my hand through, bring my ear to the mat, reach towards the wall. From here, I rotate up to the ceiling, looking at the hand the entire time. So I'm trying to make sure that I don't get overextended. We sometimes see people kind of just flinging their arm around. Very easy way to tweak your shoulder. If you can look at it, you can usually control it. So make sure you're looking at your fingers as we do 5 per side. From there, we get into shoulder taps. So, feet a little bit wider. I'm trying to do 10 shoulder taps with a nice, slow touch. So it should be 10 reps. Should take 10 seconds. And then 10 fast. Should be fast and crazy. From there, Hindu push-ups. Bum comes back to the heel. We're going to make it nice and easy. I'm going to stay pretty high, pulling myself forwards, and then pushing up. Take the toes in, hips up to the ceiling, knees down. If we want to make it more difficult, I'm just bring those forearms down, get my nose closer to the mat, and a nice smooth transition over the hands. And we're going to do 5 reps. So, T-spine rotations, 5 per side. From there, we're going to do shoulder taps, 10 slow, 10 fast, and from there, 5 Hindu push-ups. That's the warm-up. With the strength piece, we know in our push-up cycle, we start every week with the first things first, which means we're in a push-up cycle, which means we start the week after we've rested with some push-ups. So with our push-ups today, we're going to be doing 5 sets. Each set is 3 minutes long, split into 2 90-second windows of time. In our first 90 seconds, we'll be looking at push-ups today, depending on what level. We're going to talk about that in a second. And then from there, we're going to be looking at the YTWI, which is all about shoulder health. So when it comes to push-ups today, if you are doing, I suppose, the different levels, we know by now that depending on our goal, we're going to have slightly different rep ranges and approaches to our training. So if you're level 1, you're scaled, we bring them down from 4 to 6 reps now. So the reps come down, which means the difficulty level should be going up. Which means that if you can do 5 and 6 pretty easily, we've got to get closer to the floor. That is the aim of the game. Ideally, if you can, every set should be so tough that we're getting to around 4 reps. It should be a real grind, should be some very challenging reps for you. If you're level 2, you've already got push-ups, we're trying to increase that volume. We notice now the volume has gone up from 5 to 15, which means we've gone up from last week again. We're always trying to push that volume. But again, if you can't do 15, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means we're trying to build on what we did last week. So if you did 5 sets with 7 reps, let's say, this week we're going to try for 8 or 9. So we're always trying to push it forwards if we can. From there, last but not least, level 3, same rules apply as if we're level 1. We're trying to bring the amount of repetitions down, which means the difficulty level should go up. We're going to be doing 3 reps per side. So we're going to talk about how these should look, but not forgetting with the YTWI before we move on, starting with body weight, and then if we can, add some light weights. Let's take a look at these guys. It's week 3 of the push-up challenge. By now, you know that I've been hammering it into you about what we call our universal hand position for push-ups. Whether you're doing scaled, or you're doing a regular push-up on the floor, or even if you're doing different push-up variations or a one-arm push-up, the position is the same. Which means that if I'm thinking about where my hand should be, if I'm riding a motorbike, holding onto a bar, I'm trying to bend that bar. That external rotation grabs my humeral head, my upper arm bone, sucks it into the shoulder. I use the lats to stabilize the shoulder. We're in a nice, tight, beautifully stable mechanical position. Which means that if we're doing our scale push-ups today, 4 to 6, they should be tough. Which means that I'm thinking to myself, as I'm getting into like reps 4, 5, and 6, they should be like super slow, super grindy, and super difficult to perform. If they are not, we need to find a way to get ourselves incrementally lower to the floor. Of course, if we are doing a regular push-up, as we start to increase volume now, we're in week 3, we've got a couple more weeks of push-ups to go, is making sure the integrity of the position is there. So the hand position is the same, we spoke about that. It's just making sure that I'm not doing weird things. I'm not reaching my forehead to the floor. I'm not bringing my hips down and then just bending the arms a little bit. I'm not just doing lots of weird, wiggly stuff on the way up. Trying to stay as beautiful and tight as possible. And of course, last but not least, we're doing our one-arm push-ups. It's about trying to play around with how far away can I get the hand, and then how far can I get the hand down towards the hip. So again, when we're doing our one-arm push-up variations, feet are going to be way wider. I'm going to be thinking to myself, this should be very challenging to do. We should be thinking, oh my goodness, I may explode. That's how you know you're doing push-ups right. With the YTWI, a great sequence of movements that help us with a bunch of muscles in the back of the shoulder. So that's what I'm always concerned with. We're doing a bunch of pressing. It's going to develop the anterior, the front of the shoulder. But what about the back? The back is the guy that keeps us safe as part of the rotator cuff, the rivet delt, the traps, the scapular retractors. All these things are keeping us in good shoulder health. So we have to pay attention to them. So how do we do the YTWI? Pretty straightforward. I'm going to lay down. A mat is nice. That way my ribs aren't digging into the floor. I set myself up for a Y position. And all we're going to think is we're going to spend 5 seconds in each position. So with the thumbs up, I raise up into a Y. I'll be here for 5 seconds. From there out to a letter T. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. From there, elbow down, knuckle up. That's into a W. We'll be there for 5 seconds. We have to do I twice. We'll be there for 10 as we lift our palms up to the ceiling. Once I've spent 10 seconds in I, we come back to W, back to T, and then back to Y. Of course, if you can do this pretty easily with body weight, then I recommend adding some light weights to the situation. I would say generally, once we get past about 7.5 pounds, they get sloppy very quickly. So I'll keep it pretty light at first, just a couple of pounds, then maybe 5 to 7-ish pounds if you're feeling dangerous. So again, just holding onto our plates, it would be Y, T, W, I, W, T, Y. And that, my friends, is the Yeti Wig. Enjoy. For our conditioning piece today, we have a little bit of a muscular endurance, a little bit of a mental fortitude challenge today. We are going to do 3, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4-minute blocks with a 1-minute rest in between each of those blocks. So whenever we do a workout like this, there's usually a lot of confusion. People will be like, oh, do I have to go from one to the next, and then cycle through for 4 minutes? No, you don't. You stay at one block for 4 minutes, only doing these 2 exercises. You rest for a minute, and then you move on to the next one. So with our first 4-minute block today, as you can see, it says 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. We're going to do a plank up for 30 seconds. When the 30 seconds is ready for you to rest, we are then going to do a plank on the elbows today. So 4 minutes of non-stop planky action. What we need to be thinking about when we're doing our plank up and plank holds is that during the hold, we're trying not to break. If you need to take a little rest during the plank ups, that's fine, but during that hold, we do not break. So once the first one is done, we come into our second 4-minute piece where we're going to be doing dumbbell push presses, followed by an overhead hold with the same pair of dumbbells, same rules apply. If we need to rest a little bit during the push press, we can, but with our overhead holds, we try not to bring those weights down. Last but not least, mountain climbers, hands on the floor with a plank with our hands on the floor. Again, same rules apply as in the first 2. We're trying not to break that hold. That is the aim of the game in our conditioning piece. Do the reps. If you need to take a break, you can, but we do not break the hold. Let's talk about those movements. The plank up, everyone's favorite exercise during this push-up cycle, It's just so good for tricep extension, so good for the shoulders, so good for the abs. Doesn't mean you have to like it, but you are going to do it. With our plank ups, I like a little mat underneath me because I know when I get tired, I have a habit of smacking my elbow into the floor. So I set my hands up, feet outside of hip width. It should be elbow, elbow, hand, hand, elbow, elbow, hand, hand. We can continue that way for 30 seconds. When the beep goes for 30 seconds, we're just going to come down to our elbows and we're going to hold our plank there. Tight bums, tight hands, tight legs, tight everything. And that is how we spend the first 4 minutes. 30 seconds of plank ups, 30 seconds of plank on the old bows. With our dumbbell push press, we know we are relying on the legs as well as the shoulders, as well as the triceps to help us get this through this movement. Dumbbells start on the shoulder. We're going to do a little dip drive to get the weight off the shoulders. So it should be dip drive, lock out, back to the shoulder. Lock out, back to the shoulder. When 30 seconds are done, we just bring them overhead and we help. So you can be emotional, you can walk around, we can scream, we can do whatever you like, but we just don't bring the dumbbells down during that 30-second hold. With the mountain climber, we start with our hands in our plank position. We bring one foot up to that sprinter stance, so elbow by the knee or knee by the elbow, however you want to look at it, and we do our little jump. We jump and switch legs. If you find that the old jumpy mountain climber is too spicy for you, we can bring the feet closer and just drive the knees up to the chest. And of course, when 30 seconds is done, we're just hanging out on the hands in our nice planky on the hand position, not breaking in our 30-second holds. So that's our conditioning piece today. We've got 3 4-minute blocks, 30 seconds of work, 30 seconds of holding, and all you've got to remember is don't break the hold. Have a great time, let us know how you get on, and we'll see you next time.